challenged you with, making something that looked like it fit between 1979 and 1981. How, what were the struggles, or what were the things that you had to do to kind of sculpt it in that way again? Because I don't necessarily know if those figures, look like a lot of the things that you sculpt nowadays. You know what I mean? If you were going to approach it. So just kind of talk to us,
Well, I mean, again, looking back to the way things, even when I got to Mattel, when I was first there, they were still making a lot of things, even though it reflected big muscles, such as He-Man's, as opposed to what you see in Star Wars. Nonetheless, they were doing them the same way. These molds were strict steel molds that open and closed this way, and so in order for a piece not to get jammed in there, it had to have draft, and things had to be a little more stiff. So I imagine that all these parts, even though I'm giving them a little more flair, because the whole idea also was, let's pretend they were made from the late 70s, early 80s, but they better than the other stuff, because we're working harder at it, or we're better at it. And so I brought these two things into it. Not just say, let me just go backwards with it, but let's bring in my own personal integrity when it comes to knowing what could have been done, as opposed to trying to cheat it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm still saying this is just styrene, this upper torso, lower torso. It doesn't articulate from the waist anymore. And I also have to, bite the bullet in terms of how it hinges at the legs. So, I mean, these are things that just must be done that way. And again, imagining these legs coming out of simple two-piece steel molds with the arms. Same thing, drafting right out. So these are the things that I gave myself as far as limitations were. But then when it came to now coming up with the way they looked, or even moving their arms a little better, then there was no reason why I couldn't do that, or we couldn't do that, and agree as we were designing these together. But each one of these things became my baby, because I did the initial drawings on them, you guys commented on them, I came back and I did things like one of the guys, I think it was Tommy, he said, why don't you put fins on the face of the deep one? And once I did that, it was like, I'm going like, yeah, that's it, it makes it. It's like, I love that. Again, it's a great touch, because something was missing there, and again, you saw the way it turned out.
So, it definitely was a collaborative process, right? And that was one of the reasons that we had, or that was the way that we had started the project with you in the beginning, right? Was that we wanted your insight on design. And one of the things that was our goal, is to trying to make these as figures like you're saying, that fit within that era, but then are advanced in a way, or have flair that we would have wanted when we were kids in that time, or that would have made it the most bitchingest toy that was out at that time, So I think you did an awesome job of doing that. For sure.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So how about stylistically?
Well, I mean,
do you feel like that was a challenge or a change from?
Only because this just happens to be here. Well, my first stab at it was Spawn of Cthulhu, and when I drew him, I was at the beginning really adamant about she should have teeth and a mouth. Why was we make him to have? But I like is that's working with you on this one, Brian. Is that again? You kind of pushed back. You said no, he really was never described as showing teeth or whatever. And again, I get the ferocity and everything, but let's try using the tentacles on his face and see what happens. And you sent me a picture, a drawing that you did over this one. You did a drawing over this one. Then I did a drawing over the one that you did the drawing over mine, and I was able to come up with a fusion between yours and mine. And I felt good about this thing. And so did you when you saw that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's it. That's it.
Something better than what we could have came up separately.
Yes.
Alone. Yeah, that's the goal of the creative process.
I know.
From WARPO.